It's time to learn with our friend Clive. So grab your brush, have a great time. And don't forget to click subscribe.
So we're going to need a couple of things. I got a small hammer. It's called a pin hammer because it knocks panel pins and stuff in. I got a few little nails, which I'm just going to put one side, a pencil. And I've pre-cut some wood. These are the stretcher bars. I pre-cut some wood out in the backyard, and I've got them to size. So you've got a smooth side on the one side. This is just scrap wood that I found at the side of the house. So I pre-cut those to a size that I require. There you go. So what I'm going to do now is flick these around like this. So that's the surface that I'm gonna be painting on when it's prepped. And so what I do, I pre-cut some stretcher bars as well. These are old stretcher bars I had off a canvas, and I'm going to put them in position like that. So these are going to hold the frame in place. I'm going to get my pencil. I'm going to mark down either side like this. I have absolutely no idea how they did this back in the day, but this is my adaptation of what possibly could be how they did it. I don't know. Perhaps they just whacked the nails in. So I'm going to turn this around now. Hopefully I'm just going to mark there, mark there, mark there, mark there. Turn that around. And this is going to be approximately when I need to knock these nails in. There you go. So I'm just going to put that there roughly. What I'm going to do is going to stand up now and locate these. Right, so we need to put these stretcher bars underneath. Put the stretcher bar there. Put that there. And knock the first one in. There's a knot there, so we must be careful. What I suggest you do when knocking nails in is just blunt the end of the nail a touch, like that. This just helps it a bit. That's one. There we go. Square all this up later on. This is the first time I've ever made one of these type of panels, so I'm interested to see how it's going to work. I really am. I'd have to get a few more nails, I think, because one in each is maybe not enough, but we'll see. And we need to turn that around. Now you can see why I've put those lines there. And this is what I presume that was originally done. Well, I know that this is how the panels were made, by putting pieces of wood together. That should be secure enough, I think. I've got a couple of nails left, so I'm just going to put an odd one here and there. If you're wondering, I've already blunted these nails. So it was only the first few I didn't blunt. and then we can square that up at a later date. There you go, that's pretty good. So I'm going to give that a prime now with some, I believe they used a rabbit skin glue. I haven't got any of that to hand, and I don't think you would have neither. So what I'm going to do is use some PVA glue, same difference, and I'm just going to seal down the wood. That's going to protect those nails. Those nails won't rust and come through the panel, hopefully. Just seal down the canvas with a nice thick coat of PVA glue. Can do the edges later on. And I enjoy doing projects like this because a little bit of history involved, and it's nice to get hands on, get in and do some painting. The preparation of things like this is I enjoy more than the painting, in fact. It's nice to learn new skills, and these forgotten techniques are very important. Just going to the shop and buying boards and canvases and paints, then we forget the skills involved in working like this. And there's a bit of a lip there on this wood. Now, in medieval days, they wouldn't have everything perfectly planed and smooth and things like that. So this is why I've decided to use this type of wood. Just use anything to hand is exactly what they would have done. Now I'm going to leave that set and dry for about 24 hours before we move on to the next stage. Okay, so the board is lovely and sealed now. What I've done in this particular pot there, I've mixed up some PVA glue, a little bit of Van Dyke brown pigment, that's powdered pigment, or you can use Van Dyke brown acrylic paint if you want to, that's fine also. I've used some pure gloss resin there, but you can also use PVA glue if you want to. I've got some calcium carbonate or chalk, as you can see. There's chalk in there. And I followed the recipe that I use for making gesso, and I've got some pure titanium dioxide pigment, or again you can use latex house paint, or you can use acrylic white paint. It's entirely up to you. I've got a little bit of that in there as well, and I've mixed it all together, and I've got a lovely ground of paint. Now what I'm going to do is proceed to sand this panel down, just to take the roughness off it. It is slightly uneven, and what they used to do is use strips of old cloth or clothing to cover the joints, and in fact they used to cover the board as well with some linen or cloth or clothes or whatever they had to hand. But I'm not going to do that because I want this to be straight onto wood. You could get some old canvas. This is an old painting that I've just managed to strip off, and you can glue that on as well if you wanted to. Not everybody does that, but it's entirely up to you. It's just practice and experiment. That's what I suggest. Practice and experiment, as I've always said before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a brush, and I'm going to proceed to paint that mixture onto my panel. I'm filling up the gaps with the paint like this. I'm putting it on quite thickly. and come filling up those gaps, because the acrylic paint is going to seal those joints. We've already put a sealer of PVA glue on. You can use rabbit skin glue if you want to be really traditional. I'm not too worried about that. I just want a nice panel. I'm just going to do that all over the surface of this panel. You can see it's a lovely ground. So the reason I mixed a little bit of that Van Dyke brown pigment into the gesso mix is because I've got a pre-coloured ground already then, and you can use this mix if you wanted to for just a gesso mix for any surface you want to paint on. I want that rough looking texture to come through on this panel. I don't mind if it's uneven. That adds the realness then to it, if that's a word, the realness, the authenticity of this piece is going to be. I'm going to paint a church on this, I think, and I'm going to leave it rough and ready, and people can see that it's actually painted onto wood. Then there's a little nail protruding there. I might knock that in, but other than that, I'm quite happy to leave it as is. And I'm going to paint that several times with this mixture just to give it a nice thick coat, and then in between I'm going to be sanding with a sanding block, and I should get a reasonably smooth surface, and then I'll treat the back of the board as well, just to age it a bit to give it a bit of patina.